Hello, my name is Ines, and today I'm going to talk to you about the German words Wissen and Kennen. And of course, when I say something like that, we'll talk about Wissen and Kennen, you want to know, why do I have to know about Wissen and Kennen? And that is because both Wissen and Kennen, both verbs translate to English to know. But they appear in completely different contexts, and you can really only have them in either one context or the other. Okay? So the problem with that is you can't simply translate it from English to know. So a sentence that would include the verb to know, if you translated that from English to German, you would still have to decide, do I now use Wissen or Kennen? Otherwise, probably other Germans wouldn't even understand your sentence. Okay? So let's look at Kennen first. And Kennen, of course, translates to know, but really, more deeply, it's the idea of being familiar with something. Okay, that's why I wrote here, Kennen is used to express familiarity with people and places. And what you have to know is that it always takes a direct object. The direct object could be a person or a place, but it can also be other things. So I think if we just look at some example sentences, that'll become a lot clearer. The first example sentence would be, do you know Simon's sister? Okay, of course here you have the English verb to know. And you would now think about, is this maybe a context of familiarity? So you could replace it with, am I familiar with Simon's sister? Or are you familiar with Simon's sister? And that seems okay, so you would translate this to know with kennen, which gets you to, kennst du Simons Schwester? And of course, Simons Schwester here is a person. Okay, so the direct object is a person. Now let's look at the sentence, I know State College very well. Again, you have the verb to know, but really it's also the idea of you're familiar with State College. That is, you know where the bars are, the restaurants are. Maybe if you're just in a random street, you could find home. So you're familiar with State College is what to know State College means, right? So again, you would use the verb kennen, and you would say, ich kenne State College sehr gut. Okay? And here you had State College as being a place, so the direct object is a place. Okay? I just said it doesn't always have to be though, so I'm going to show you a sentence where it's neither a place nor a person. And in this case, it's a novel. So you have the sentence, do you know Kafka's Metamorphosis? Which, of course, Metamorphosis is a novel written by Franz Kafka, so Kafka is the author here. And still, I'm asking you, are you familiar with this novel? Okay? It's not so much factual knowledge, do you know when it was published or something? I'm just asking you, are you familiar with this? Do you know this book? Okay? So we would still stay with the word kennen and then say, kennst du Kafka's Die Verwandlung? And this is an example where, of course, Die Verwandlung, the novel, is neither a person nor a place, but it's still a direct object. You still think about this context of, am I familiar with that, familiarity, and use the word kennen. Okay, then let's look at the conjugation of kennen. It's actually really simple because it's regular. You already know all the ending. You would get ich kenne, du kennst, sie es kennt, wir kennen, ihr kennt, and sie kennen. Okay? The only thing I really want to point out is to please not confuse kennen and können. Können, of course, means to be able to, and it's only different by the vowel, so you have the I in kennen, to know, but you have the umlauted O, the Ö, in können, to be able to. And you can, of course, see how if you use this in a sentence and you said, for example, ich kann den Mann, for I know the person, but really you say, I'm able to do the man or something, that's not what you want to do, okay? So they do only differ by this one vowel, but it's a big difference that we see a lot in classrooms that students just switch that up a little bit. So just pay extra attention to this. So down here you see the conjugation of können, but that's the one you don't want to do. Of course you want to do the big one. Okay, then let's talk about Wissen. Wissen is really more the concept of knowing a fact. So it's still to know, but now it's really this factual knowledge. And it can still take a direct object, but actually more often it's used with a relative clause that starts with a question word, something like wo or wann or wer, and so on. And that will too make a lot more sense once we start looking at sentences. So this first sentence here, Simon doesn't know the answer. This is really not Simon isn't familiar with the answer, it's really does he know it or doesn't he know it? Okay, very factual, he doesn't know the answer, so we use Wissen, factual knowledge, and then we say Simon weiß die Antwort nicht. next sentence. Do you know where I live? Okay, again, this is very factual knowledge. I'm not asking you, are you familiar with the house I live in? Do you know where the bedrooms are? It's really just, if I invite you over, do you know where I live? Could you find my house? So again, it's very factual knowledge. Either you know where I live or you don't know where I live. Okay? And that's why, again, we use the verb wissen. So we say, weißt du, wo ich wohne? And this is what I was talking about, the relative clauses. So, wo ich wohne, or where I live in English, this would be one of these relative clauses. And that is simply because often when we ask people about factual knowledge, it's actually with a relative clause, just generally in life. So you ask them where something is, if they know where something is, when something is. So this just is something you'll see a lot. And we have one more. I don't know who that man is. Again, I'm not asking you, are you familiar with that person? This would be, I see a man standing somewhere. I'm just asking you, do you know who that is? Maybe you've never seen him in your life before, and it's easy to say, no, I have no idea. So again, factual knowledge, not familiarity, and you would use wissen. So you get, ich weiß nicht, wer der Mann ist. Okay, good. Then let's look at the conjugation of wissen. And this one is actually a little trickier because it's irregular. So you have a stem change in the singular form. You would say, ich weiß, du weißt, sie es weiß, okay, with the stem change from I to ei. But then plural is regular, like it usually is for irregular verbs, and you get wir wissen, ihr wisst, sie wissen. So again, ich weiß, du weißt, sie es weiß, wir wissen, ihr wisst, sie wissen. Okay, irregular. Let's just talk about the past tense of wissen and können really quick then. And it's not terribly difficult, but you've already learned the perfect tense, and I hope you remember about mixed verbs. Mixed verbs, again, were the ones that end in T, but the stem vowel changes. And that's exactly what we get for wissen and können too. They are both mixed verbs. So the past tense or the past participle wouldn't be gekannt and gewisst, but it's gekannt und gewusst. Okay? So for Simon knew the teacher, you would say, Simon hat die Lehrerin gekannt. And for my grandpa knew a lot about philosophy, mein Opa hat viel über Philosophie gewusst. Okay, those are two you just have to learn, but you'll use this verb so frequently that shouldn't be too hard. Okay, then let's just practice a little bit. I brought you a little dialogue here, and all I want to know from you is, in the dialogue, for each of the gaps, would you use wissen or kennen? And if you maybe already noted down the conjugation, you can also try to conjugate it. Okay, so the dialogue in English goes, do you know my brother Georg? No, I don't know him, but I know that he is a teacher. Okay, let's look at the first gap. For, do you know my brother Georg? Would you say this is factual knowledge, or would you say this is familiarity? I hope you said familiarity, because really you could replace it with, are you familiar with my brother Georg? Okay? And then the answer, no, I don't know him, would again be, no, I'm not familiar with him. Okay, I've never met him, I don't know what he's like, but I'd be happy to meet him, or something. So for both of them, you would use kennen. And then for the Sie form, you get kennen. Kennen Sie meinen Bruder Georg? And then nein, ich kenne ihn nicht. Again, regular conjugation, that shouldn't be too difficult. Now let's look at this last sentence. But I know that he is a teacher. Would you say this is more, I'm familiar with that he's a teacher, or is this more factual knowledge? It should, of course, be factual knowledge, because either I know that he's a teacher or I don't, or either he's a teacher or an accountant or whatever, but this really is more factual. So here we would use wissen. And remember, it's irregular, so you want to say, aber ich weiß, dass Lehrer ist. Okay, I hope that made sense. I brought one more. This time the dialogue goes, do you know the city Philadelphia? No, I don't know the city, and I don't even know where it is. Okay? So if you look at the first gap, do you know the city Philadelphia? Would you say this is factual knowledge or familiarity? And this one is probably a little trickier, but what you have to pay attention to is that I didn't ask you where Philadelphia is. Where is it on the map? What state is it in? How many inhabitants? I don't know. But I really asked you, basically, do you know it? Are you familiar with the city? Have you been there? Have you been to the Liberty Bell? Something like that. Okay? So again, you could replace it with, are you familiar with the city Philadelphia? And then you would use kennen. And for the du form, very regular, you would conjugate for kennst du. Kennst du die Stadt Philadelphia? And again, if we say no, it's the same as for the person. No, I'm not familiar with it. So you say, nein, ich kenne die Stadt nicht. And now it goes on though saying, and I don't even know where it is. And of course you probably picked up on that right away, that that is factual knowledge. I don't know where it is, I don't know what state it's in. I'm from Germany, I don't know where Philadelphia is. It could be in Pennsylvania, but really it could be in Massachusetts or New York. What would I know? Okay, so that is very factual knowledge. I don't know where it's located, and then you use wissen, and again, irregular conjugation, you get und ich weiß auch nicht, wo sie liegt. Okay, I hope Wissen and Kennen makes a lot of sense to you now. And I wrote down here, wissen Sie jetzt alles über den Unterschied zwischen Wissen und Kennen? Because, of course, this is factual knowledge you learned. So I'm asking you, do you know everything about the difference between Wissen and Kennen? And I just taught you, so this is factual knowledge you now have. And that's why I used Wissen. If you have any questions, ask your online teacher. But I hope this already cleared things up a little bit. Bye.